On blast.
Thank you. You're far too kind for tuning in once again to another edition of the Ball on Blast podcast, which soon might be changed to the Raptors Ball on Blast podcast, because the Raptors again, Webby, big things. Again, my name is Sheldon Alexander. I'm here as always with my guy, Andrew Webster. Webby, are you caught up in Raptors fever or what?
Oh, it seems like we've been gone a little while, but that's because I guess we recorded on Wednesday last week. Man, I am just in basketball heaven right now, watching pro and college games, just about 2 a night. It's been great.
Yeah, I mean, as we just started recording, the end of the Loyola Chicago game just ended.
Sister Jean! What did I tell y'all?
I got to start right here and just give you some props, Webby, because you did tell me and our listening audience about Sister Jean and the run that Loyola Chicago would have. Now, did you predict this? I don't know. But you put it out there on the radar. You put it on the radar to a lot of people.
I had him winning 2 games and then losing in the third round. But with my bracket being busted the way it is, hey, I'm just now rooting for Loyola Chicago to make it to the Final Four.
You, Barack Obama, and I think Kanye West probably. He'll be rooting for a Chicago squad.
And you say Shy City.
Shy City. And, of course, Sister Jean, right?
Oh, of course. Listen, it's all about Sister Jean.
All about Sister Jean when we're talking about the NCAA. But as we shift gears to the NBA, the night after such a crazy game, there's only one place we can start, right, Webby? The Cavs and Raptors.
It's the 2 teams that we seem to be talking about week in and week out here.
Right? They just appeared to be on a crazy collision course, and they met in Cleveland on Wednesday night, and the game did not disappoint. The Raptors were up. First off, they put up, 79 points in the first half. We're up 15 at half. And then, LeBron just went LeBron. I don't know, Webby. So many places we can go with this game, but I just want to ask you, first off, what was your biggest takeaway from last night's game?
The 17 assists, 0 turnovers. Just something that I've never seen. I don't think anybody's seen before in the NBA. That was an incredible performance by LeBron James. And, listen, the Raptors are having another historic season. They're going to be the number 1 seed heading into the playoffs. They should be the favorite to make the finals. But as we saw in this game, the road to the championship is going to go through LeBron James in one way or another.
That was the thing, right, about this game. And to me, right, the biggest question heading in was, did it matter, right? And I think that there's 2 sides to this, because I think it mattered for sure for Cleveland, because Cleveland, they've been losing a lot of games, but they haven't really had their full team. But I think on some level, they don't have their coach. Yeah, they've had a crazy season, right? But I mean, at this point where they stand right now, Jose Calderon is starting games in March for a team with championship aspirations.
That's right. It's a lot.
That is 2018. Crazy. In the year 2018, right? And I just think where the Cavs are right now, they needed that win just for the morale, just to let themselves know, oh yeah, we can do this. Just that little extra boost of confidence. Now, the Raptors, on the other hand, I think that was a bigger question, because to me, it was all about whatever the mentality was inside the room. Because I think if the mentality inside the room was, oh, we're confident, we're good, we're really looking for bigger things this year, and bigger things meaning the conference finals and the NBA finals, I don't get why they didn't sit people on the second night of a back-to-back.
Well, because it's the Cavs. This isn't playing the Mavericks or somebody. This is playing the King and his Legion, right? And we've been talking about, the Raptors and team identity. This is an identity game. You beat LeBron like that, and if they had scored another 79 points in the second half and had blown out the Cavs, people would say that this matters. But I think what you're getting is a lot of Raptors fans saying, oh, it's just a regular season game, whatever, they still got to play 4 games at our place in a 7-game series, yada, yada, yada. But you can't suck and blow. This is a statement game one way or another, and I'm not trying to say that I now think that LeBron and the Cavs would be favored in a series against the Raptors, or even, they'd have a great shot, of course. But they wouldn't be favored in a series against the Raptors, right? The Raptors would be obvious favorites, but this is still a big deal because this shows that you have to close, you know?
Definitely. I think, too, it's all about narratives, right? And I think people listen a lot, and the narratives become, what is the outside noise seeping into the rooms? And Cleveland, obviously, they watch ESPN. We know LeBron watches ESPN like every day, right? We know this. And we know that they've been starting to hear all this talk about the Raptors and the Raptors being for real and it's a different team and all this stuff, as Auston Matthews just scored, because Auston Matthews is the truth. Sorry.
Of course. Put it out there.
But the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? I think like they started to hear that noise about the Raptors they're legit. They're for real this year. They're a real threat to make it to the NBA Finals. I think the Cavs were hearing that, and to them, this game definitely mattered. And you knew that you were going to get the A game from the Cavs, but more so, you had the Cavs at least wondering, right? And I don't know if you're the Raptors, if you needed to answer those questions or any questions for the Cavs at this point. I think you might have been better off, and of course I'm playing the hindsight game, but I'm just saying, if you're the Raptors and you're really that confident that you have bigger fish to fry come playoff time, hey, and you think resting Kyle is a priority, which I don't think you should be for the record. But once you've already established that, hey, we rested DeMar the first night, we rested Kyle last Friday against the Mavs. Once you already established that,
Mavs, though,
it's like...
No. If the Raptors did that, I would see it as a cowardly move.
I agree. I don't think you should be resting anybody, though, right? I think the minutes in the way that they've been distributed the whole season, Webby, I don't think that anybody should be needing rest at this point. I was stunned when I saw that last week.
This is why. Well, you had a bit of injuries too, though, right? And guys coming back off of injuries. I understood the DeMar one, but I didn't understand the clamoring to sit anybody against the Cavs.
Do you know what my thing is? I just don't think that the Raptors only had a chance to lose morale heading into this game. They had nothing to gain. I think that even if they beat the Cavs, it still would have been like, oh well. Yeah, of course we beat the Cavs. Instead, this just looks like a disappointment because you lost to the Cavs and the Cavs are missing 2 starters.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know. That's just me. But mind you, if we really talk about what's going on with the Toronto Raptors, and if you've been following us for the whole season, I've said, I will not believe that the Raptors will beat the Cavs in the playoffs until I see it. Yeah. I just can't go that far and say that the Raptors are making the NBA Finals. And last night, it just went to prove the point. I know everyone thinks it's just, it's easy to say, oh, well, they have LeBron. But after watching last night's game, man, it's tough to argue, no?
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Well, you know what? It really helps that he got Kevin Love back.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I mean, especially against the Raptors, the way that they're set up, having a guy like that, a big guy that stretches you out and can consistently hit that shot that LeBron sets you up for, wherever he is, whether he's in the corner, at the top of the key, or on the wing. But as long as he can take and make those 3-pointers, I mean, that's a really tough team to beat. I don't care who's coming off the bench, who's in the starting unit, anything like that, man.
And the thing, too, that got to me about, last night's game and just the narratives that people are trying to put out there in terms of, oh, well, George Hill won't have another game like that. Calderon won't have another game like that. And it's like, I know George Hill went 10 for 11, which is completely ridiculous, and I understand that. But how many wide open shots was LeBron getting these guys? And I think that part's not going to stop. And the part that kind of gets overlooked is, hey, Kevin Love is splashing mad trays. But LeBron, some of those drives and kicks, the no look, like just side angle pass, that he's putting on a string, like so fast, perfectly put in the shooting pocket. When LeBron is doing that, and all these guys, you're NBA players, you just have to knock down open shots. I'm not going to be that quick to just, put that aside and be like, well, I don't know if those Cavs guys can do that. Because if you take Jose Calderon off the court and it's Kyle Korver's hitting those open shots, no? 100%.
Not only that, but then you also have Rodney Hood, too.
Exactly. Right? I don't know. The Raptors, too, Raptors fans, this is why we've been saying it's a marathon, right? So to ride the wave every single day, That's a tough thing to do, to have your championship aspirations changing on a daily basis. It's weird. And you hear things from people today talking about how, oh, well, the Raptors just ran out of gas. And it's like, to use the same analogy as you said, sucking and blowing at the same time, right? Like, you rested Fred and DeMar the night before, right? You were up. You scored 79 points in the first half. I don't really think you can use the back-to-back as an excuse. That's just me. That's just my opinion. But come on.
You know what it reminded me of, to be honest? It was like watching the last 3 games of the Cavs-Warriors series that the Cavs won.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
And it was like these shots that we've been so accustomed to the Raptors being able to knock down just weren't falling.
And it's like once that momentum started from Cleveland, it was tough to stop.
Right, and then once those shots don't drop, then you get a little tight. And it was, it's funny, where was the ISO ball from DeMar and Kyle?
That was the troubling part to me, too. Down the stretch, Webby, correct me if I'm wrong, but down the stretch, the Raptors had a lineup out there of Poeltl, Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and then Kyle and DeMar, right? And I'll say Fred VanVleet was creating everything. He was driving and kicking. He was diming off Siakam and Poeltl, getting them layups. He was doing it all. Like, he was going back and forth with whatever LeBron was doing for a nice little 2-minute run in crunch time. The whole time I was like, where's Kyle?
Yeah.
It was weird.
So hot in the first half, too.
Yo, Kyle was lit to start that game. He was splashing threes like crazy. No hesitation.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, fourth quarter, it just made me nervous, man. It made me nervous. I can't lie, Webb.
You know what? Maybe they're trying some things out. I thought that, like you say, VanVleet was unbelievable. And did you see, even LeBron had to dap him up at the line.
I saw that.
He had to stop him and be like, no, come back here, young man. Shake my hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was
VanVleet's just been on another level. And, I was a little worried that maybe they weren't going to push him as hard as they might want to because of the wrist. But, I don't know, the wrist looked fine to me last night.
Yeah, he looked amazing last night. He was hitting threes. Again, he was getting into the paint whenever he wanted to. And, hey, maybe we'll give Kyle the benefit of the doubt, before we just pile on him like it's the playoffs and he's disappointing us already. Right? Maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he's just trying to see, just like Casey's trying to see, okay, well, let's see what Fred and Pascal do in this situation. Let's let them kind of, control the tempo and dominate the ball here and see what they do. Maybe that's a thing, because really, we keep saying it too, and maybe Kyle and DeMar know this deep down, right? Yes, they're going to have to lead the way. But on another level, you need to know who your third guy is, who your fourth guy is. You need to know who your dudes are that you're going to be able to take with you in the trenches when it's game 5, when it's game 3 against Cleveland. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's a thing too. That's a positive that you got out of last night.
Right. And like I say, it's just kind of like fine-tuning yourself before it starts. What can we use? What can we not? You've built yourself into this position now, heading down the stretch run where, it doesn't look like anybody's going to catch you for the number 1 seed. Why not, in a big test like this, in a big game like this against LeBron and the Cavs, see what you can do? You don't have to put everything. This isn't a must-win game for you, but it is a good test for some young guys to say, okay, here's what it's kind of going to be like in the playoffs. We can't totally replicate this, but this is what it might feel like.
Definitely, and that's one thing you really got to know, because all this talk about the bench, and maybe going 10 deep, to me, that's not realistic, because as we talked about last week from that Zach Lowe column, right? You got to adjust quickly. And I think if you use last night's game as an example, quickly you realize, okay, you weren't getting much from Norm. Norm, you got to take a seat.
Yeah.
Okay, Serge, we weren't getting much from you. You got to take a seat, right? Even OG. OG was okay early, but then they weren't getting much from him. But maybe on the flip side, it was apparent you were getting a lot more from Fred, from DeLon, and Siakam especially. And then you got to run with those guys, right?
Siakam, listen, this is going to sound a little, hypocritical, seeing how LeBron put up 35 and 17 and no turnovers. but I thought that Siakam played pretty good defense.
He did. He really did. I mean, sometimes what's Mark Jackson's line? Sometimes the only thing that beats good defense is better offense. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, Siakam, no one's going to stop LeBron James, right? Your only hope is that you make him work hard to get his buckets. He's going to get his, but as long as you make him work hard for it, that's all you can ask for, right? And I think Siakam did do the best job. And my question is just, I don't get Serge. Like, Serge is struggling lately against the good teams because we'll talk about OKC game in a second, but Siakam was playing so nice, and then all of a sudden, I want to say it was like the 2-minute mark, Casey subbed out Siakam and Poeltl for JV and Serge. And I just kind of like, that just seemed weird to me. I don't know. Serge Ibaka just doesn't seem to have it. And he came right in, and then he fouled LeBron on a 3-point attempt, right? LeBron was shooting 3 free throws. Then right after, he bricked a wide open 3. It was just like, yeah, Serge got to take a seat, man. I don't know. This is going to end bad, I think.
I know. It's really interesting. Like we just talked about, you have this time, you have this chance to really try some things out in this stretch run. What would you look like if you did start Siakam? What would you look like if you don't bring Ibaka in to close out the game? But hey, I'm kind of moving to your side. I was originally like, listen, Casey's got a plan. He's obviously likes the way that the rotation is, but man, Serge has been not phenomenal. We'll put it like that.
And the thing too, we talk about what games matter, what games don't, and the way that I look at the regular season, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, but I look more so for what happens against the good teams, right? So I'm going to rate a whole lot more what you do against Cleveland or what you do against OKC more so than what you do against Orlando, right? And so going back to Serge, and the OKC game was a struggle for him. My guy hit his first 2 shots, Webby, and then missed 11 straight.
Yeah, it was not good.
How does that even happen? Like, I don't even understand how that's a thing. Like, we've all played basketball on some level, right? And obviously nowhere near the heights of Serge Ibaka. But once you miss like 3 shots in a row, don't you kind of just pass the ball the next couple times, right?
Come on, Shelly. What do shooters do? Shooters shoot, man. Shooters shoot.
Hey, fair enough. But is Serge a shooter? That's my question. Right?
Well, he likes to think that he is. Yeah, over the last 2 years, year and a half, I guess he is now a shooter.
It's like all that time he was playing with KD and Russ. He's like, oh, man, all those times I didn't get to shoot.
Yeah, right. I've been here the whole time ready to just tickle the twine.
Making up for lost time. But, as we shift focus, though, from the Cleveland game to the OKC game, I'm linking these two things together just because, again, it's against high-powered teams, top-tier teams in the NBA that obviously the Raptors are among, but I don't really like the sign that they've lost 2 really close games, like really tense games. I hate using the term of playoff atmosphere. Do you know what I mean? But as you inch closer, teams are starting to ramp up as they get into that sort of championship chase mentality, right? And Russ comes in, and they had no answer for Russell Westbrook down the stretch. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Kyle fouled out, DeMar got tossed, Ibaka got tossed, Casey undeservedly, but he also got tossed. Like, it was just 2 meltdowns against big-time teams in a row, right?
It's tough because it's like, yeah, you want to see them win close games against playoff caliber teams, top teams in the league. You want to see them close out those games. But the thing that you can't hold against the Raptors is they ran into 2 individual performances that were about as good as I've seen this season.
You're totally right, man.
I mean, Russ was a monster in that game, and LeBron was 17 assists, no turnovers.
You're right. Russ put up 37, 14, and 13.
That's nuts.
That doesn't even seem like a real stat line.
How is that possible?
Oh, man. And the thing, too, was down the stretch. And I think the biggest key here, right? And the underlying narrative to me during this whole entire Raptor season, right, is we always talked about how do you beat LeBron or how do you win an NBA championship without a LeBron type talent, right? Because when you go through the list of NBA champions, they have a league MVP on their team, right? Or someone who had won an MVP at some point in their career on their team, right? If you go back through history and look at all the teams that have won an NBA title, I think you're only missing the Detroit Pistons, right?
Yeah, the Detroit Pistons
team. But I mean, even on those late Spurs teams, you had Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was a beast, and even though Tim Duncan wasn't the same MVP in that last championship the Spurs won, the greater point here is that if you don't have that MVP caliber player, then it's a team thing. And I think that is the biggest underlying narrative here for the Raptors, right? As much as we talk about Kyle and DeMar all-stars, as in the wise words of your man's Meek Mill, there's levels to this shit, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen the difference between the Russ, the LeBron tier to what the Kyle and DeMar tier is. And I know that sounds like a knock, but we're talking about levels of greatness. So it's really not a knock. It just shows that you really do need to have a full team to take on those guys, right?
Yeah, and the Raptors think that they have this full team.
They do, but it still comes down to what do you do in crunch time, right?
Yeah.
Who gets the ball?
Yeah, when the going gets tough, what happens?
Yeah. When you need a bucket, when you need a play, who is coming up with that play, right? It's that line from, what was that great 30 for 30? I know which one, right? The one that had, it was Reggie Miller versus the Knicks.
Yeah.
Winning time, yeah. And Ahmad Rashad, I think it was, had like this long soliloquy, and it was just really good, and it just ended. He's like, they're stars and they're superstars, and the NBA is filled with great players, but the thing that separates them the most at the top is what do you do in winning time, right?
That's it.
That's what worries me right now when I'm watching the Raptors, because the other stat here, Webby, that I need to bring up, and I'm going to ask you if this worries you, okay? Follow me here.
Hit me.
The Toronto Raptors this season in games decided by 3 points or less are 5-7 this year.
Oh.
Does that worry you?
Well, a little bit. And I know this is like sacrilegious to say, but the more and more this season plays out, the more and more this Raptors team is reminding me of the Atlanta Hawks from a couple of years ago.
Ooh, it's right? Interesting. Yeah.
Because when things are going well for a team like that, they look like world beaters. They look like every shot's going in, everybody can take them, nobody's going to slow them down. But it's not about what you do when you're going well, it's about how you can respond when things aren't going your way.
For sure.
And that 5-7 record. Now, I'd like to know that the winning percentages of the teams, of the 5 teams that they've beat and the 7 teams that they've lost to. I'd like to know that, but listen, Basketball Reference, we'll look that up later.
I'd have to look that up.
No facts. No fact
checking. Off the top of my head, I would know that 2 of the games they lost by 3. I'm pretty sure they lost 2 games by 3 to Golden State.
Right.
I'm pretty sure 2 of the wins by 3 might be against Houston. The first game against Houston, I'm not sure what the score was.
Second one was definitely against Houston.
Second one was definitely Houston, for sure. But the other thing, too, just to show you the real story of the Raptors season, in games that are decided by 10 points, it's 29-3. So the Raptors' wins this year have been coming by blowout, like convincing victories, which is great, which is fine, but blowouts in the playoffs don't really happen that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they don't happen
really
often.
A thing, right? Like, you're going to play a lot more closer games. And again, the pace is going to be a lot slower, and you're going to have the game dictated by your stars. I don't know. That's the thing that worries me. I'm worried. Maybe I need Raptor fans. Hit me up. Let me know. Tell me I'm worrying a little too much. And just know that this is not me overreacting to what happened to the Cavs game. This is a season-long narrative that I've been having because, again, I don't put stock into what happens against the Dallases of the league and whatever, right? Like, the Houston game was a big deal to me because that was a big win that showed me, okay, DeMar, you can do that. You can step up in that moment when you look at Harden. But then we see Russ come in. Then we see LeBron come in, and I'm like, I don't know.
But that Rockets game was also a little bit like this Cavs game, where they were all like they got out to a great start and built up a huge lead, and then in that second half, allowed that next level player to do what they do and claw back in the game.
Yeah. It's an interesting point, Webby. It's an interesting point. Interesting times in Raptor land, too. But as you said, I know I just made it sound like it's doom and gloom, and I don't mean to rain on the parade of Raptors fans. But
I know. and listen, maybe the comparison to the Atlanta Hawks is a little rough.
Hey, all I'm going to say, Webby, is I don't know. All I'm saying is you're going to be first overall in the East, and it almost looks like you're going to end up playing against the Bucks. And that is a tough 1 versus 8 matchup. That's all.
Listen, they have one of the best players in the league, but I don't know about that team.
That's a tough one, Webby. I don't want no part of Giannis, and neither should anybody else come playoff time. That is.
I don't want no part of Giannis, but even if you go 1 through 8 on the Raptors and the Bucks, it's pretty advantage Raptors there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying. Hey, I'm just saying, as you look forward to, I don't know, man. Who's the best player in the series, Giannis or DeMar?
Sure, probably Giannis, but
probably
it's close.
Giannis, okay. So then the Raptors have Kyle and DeMar would be the next 2 best players, right?
Yeah. And then, I don't know.
And who? I don't even know who's the Raptors, like,
third or fourth
best player?
Well,
is it JV or Fred?
Or is it Siakam?
Yo, Siakam is a problem, man.
Yo,
he's nice.
Yo, it's baby Draymond, man. Just the way, his like offensive moves and like just the way he defends is like he's like a well-behaved Draymond Green.
Yes, he is nice. Like I don't know, man. You make the comparison to Draymond Green, and if you remember back to the same situation that happened, the Warriors were paying David Lee a lot of money, and then slowly they kind of had to switch gears because those starting minutes had to go to Draymond instead of going to David Lee. We could end up in the same type of situation here in Toronto, right?
Ooh, a little Siakam for Serge in the starting lineup. Are you comparing Serge Ibaka and David Lee?
I'm saying in their washed years, yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
I'm definitely doing that. That's about it. In their washed years. Although, shout out to David Lee and the newly married David Lee, right? What's her name? Tennis player?
Who did he marry?
McElroy's ex-girl, man.
Wozniacki,
yes.
Get the fuck out. No way.
Yes. I was going to just say a story of seeing David Lee. I was just going to tell a story about seeing David Lee, Chandler Parsons, and someone else in Cabo when I was at my friend's wedding a couple years ago.
Nice.
But you know what? I'm not going to tell that story.
Well, all right, but that'll be for later.
Off the air. Shout out to OVO Ryan, though, by the way.
Wow.
I'll just say that. But I want to close this wrap it up segment, Webby, by this tweet from Amin El Hassan, who works at ESPN.
See, I thought this was your observation, and then I was like, damn, that's really good, Shell.
Amin El Hassan says Fred VanVleet looks like his name is Ron Baker, and Ron Baker looks like his name is Fred VanVleet.
That's amazing.
That is so good. That is so good. Well, maybe we'll put up a side by side on Twitter or something, but that is amazing. It's
so funny. I mean, we're watching March Madness now. The NCAA tournament's going on. Wichita State is out, but it's so funny. I remember watching both of those guys for years on Wichita State, and it's amazing how, they both made the NBA, but like one is Ron Baker and the other's Fred VanVleet,
It's amazing. It's amazing. They sound like two TV characters from like that 70s show or something.
Fred VanVleet sounds like a character from a novel.
Or a character on Gossip Girl.
Oh, okay, for you, Gossip. Or how about Deadwood, too? I could see Fred VanVleet being in Deadwood.
Right? Oh, man. Anyways, interesting time in Raptor land. Hope you enjoyed our Wrap It Up segment. Raptors fans, didn't mean to get you mad, but hit us up. Let us know what you think, whether you agree or disagree, what you guys thought, because we really want to know what you guys think right now, what the feeling is, the mood surrounding Raptors fans right now. Did the Cleveland game scare you off? Or are you just okay, brushing it aside, just another game? Let us know. Hit us up wherever you find this podcast. But moving on the Ball on Blast podcast, our next segment is Turn Up, Turn Down, which is very easy. We make a hot take, and it's either turn up, which equals good, or turn down equals bad. Okay, Webby, we kind of touched on this earlier, but here's the first hot take. The East still goes through the Cavs. Webby, are you turning up or turning down?
It really depends on who they pull in that second round. Because
hold on. Are you hedging right now because the Cavs could meet up with your Sixers, and so you don't want to say that to jinx your Sixers? Is that what's going on right now?
Listen, Sixers are a problem. They are a problem. They're the one team in the East nobody wants to face. But yeah, listen, it's the Ric Flair thing. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And the man is LeBron James. So, yes, the Eastern Conference playoffs run through Cleveland. You've got to beat LeBron James if you want to get to the championship. So, yes, I would say that the path runs through Cleveland.
I'm going to actually agree with you, Webby, and the East still goes through LeBron James. And sometimes the game of basketball is that serious. The series comes down to which team has the best player, and I think last night's game was a prime example that best player, you put him with Jose Calderon as his starting point guard, and Jose Calderon looks like, I don't know, the second coming of Steve Nash for one night.
George Hill looks like Jose Calderon from 10 years ago.
I don't even know if Jose Calderon from 10 years ago was that good as he was last night, to be honest.
Good point.
But I've said it, and I'll stand by this. I need to see the Raptors actually beat LeBron 4 times in the playoffs for me to believe it. I still think the biggest takeaway from last night's game, to me at least, is that it will be a series, right? Because here's some real talk, okay? The Raptors got swept last year by the Cavs, right? The year before it went to 6 games. But really, I don't think at any point during that 6-game series, the Cavs were really nervous. And I'll say this, and I've said it before on this podcast, I have it on pretty good authority that during that Eastern Conference Finals, the Cavs were, let's say, enjoying what Toronto has to offer while they were here during the Eastern Conference Finals.
Insider information, I like it.
I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I'm not saying that's why they lost those 2 games. I'm just giving context, right?
Okay.
Following that, wouldn't that explain to you why they came and finished off business so seriously last year in the next 2 games?
To not let that Toronto flu affect them?
Hey, that's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that. But here's the thing, right? If that's what happened the past 2 years, at least now I think we know that it'll be a series. LeBron James last night, when he makes that move and he drives to the basket and he's saying, "Oh, get that out of here," to me, that's telling me that in his mind, he was at least a little bit worried heading in. He was at least, the Raptors were on his mind. I'm not saying he thought the Raptors were going to beat him. I'm not saying that he's worried about the Raptors, but it was the first time, I think this year will be the first time that they're at least considering the possibility of it being a series, right? So all I'm saying is, hey, the Raptors blew out the Cavs earlier this season, and people are still relying on those morals, even though half the Cavs team is completely different than that team that was out partying in Toronto at Drake's restaurant for Dwayne Wade's birthday party. Do we remember that or no?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the East still goes through LeBron James because LeBron James is a complete animal. I don't know. I have no explanation for how this man could be doing what he's doing at this age, but we're watching it on a nightly basis. And until someone can stop LeBron James, I'm betting on LeBron James to make the NBA Finals again.
Outside of the Raptors, who's got the best shot of taking down the Cavs? You are allowed to say the Sixers.
No, because here's the thing, right? I think the Sixers, I don't know who guards LeBron. Like, who's slowing down LeBron? Who's stopping LeBron?
Simmons.
And also, JoJo will go to work. But if I'm the Cavs, I'm saying, okay, cool. JoJo, do what you do, but you're also going to have to guard Kevin Love at the 5 on the perimeter. And I know that he's not as bad on the perimeter as most centers, as most 5s are.
Right.
But that's still going to be a tough thing for JoJo to do, to be running around screens from 3-point line to 3-point line trying to chase down Kevin Love. I don't know. It'd be an interesting series. And to be honest, I don't know who's going to beat LeBron and the Cavs. Because, again, once Larry Nance comes back, we saw how well Larry Nance fit in with LeBron. We haven't seen how Larry Nance is going to fit with Kevin Love, but
I can imagine it'd be pretty good.
Right? If what's that dude's name? Zizic? I don't even know who that guy is.
Yeah.
But LeBron's hitting that guy with layups going towards the basket.
I know.
Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. And at one point, I'm seeing dumb people on Twitter say things like, well, LeBron played 45 minutes. He had a crazy, like, historical game. It's not like he can do that every game. It's like, have you been watching the playoffs for the past, how many years? Like, what are we talking about right now?
Have you watched this guy's career?
Right? Like, he has been doing this in every playoff game, right? For the past how many years, right? You alluded to it earlier about how it resembled the Warriors game, right? Or the Warriors series when they won the finals. And it kind of just became this, snowball effect. And LeBron probably put up the 3 best games of his life to win that NBA championship, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kyrie, maybe the Celtics would have had the best chance if Kyrie was healthy, but I don't think that's a thing.
I don't think many are healthy on that Celtics team.
I still think the East goes through the Cavs, man. I'm turning up on this.
Hey, I'm a Ric Flair guy, so I got to turn up. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
But are you a Ric Flair drip kind of guy?
Oh, 100%.
Yes, sir. Moving on in our turn up, turn down segment. Next topic. The MVP debate is over. James Harden wins.
Yeah, I'm turning up on this, 100%.
So this comes up, Webby. Some background here for the listeners. Harden he had another moment, right? He went for 42, 7, and 6 against the red hot Blazers, ending their 13-game winning streak, but did it in James Harden fashion, where he just crushing the soul and splashing back-to-back big-time threes to ice the game. And then on top of that, in the post-game interview, he says, barbecue chicken.
Cooking it up. Cooking it up.
Webby, are you turning up on this? Is James Harden the MVP? Is it over?
Yeah, it's over. It's been over. Dude, it was over like 2-3 weeks ago. Maybe even more. This guy he's having an unbelievable statistical season. And it's not just like I said a couple of weeks ago, what Harden is doing is he's bridging the gap between analytics and eye test. Okay?
It's interesting.
He's winning and he's putting up insane analytic numbers. He's bridging that gap.
I'm going to say, Webby, as much as I want to agree with you, I think you're noticing a theme with me during this podcast.
Come on. I know where you're going. Of course.
I can't say it's over because what LeBron James is doing is just stupid. Since February 1st, LeBron James is averaging 29 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists on 56% shooting from the floor. Add in 41% shooting from 3. Now, numbers alone are dope, right? James Harden has dope numbers. But let's add in everything else that's been going on with the Cleveland Cavaliers this season, right? They lose their GM. They trade away Kyrie Irving. They bring in all these guys. That goes wrong. Everyone gets traded. IT almost blows up their whole team in the middle of the season by talking so much shit. They get traded, ship that out. He gets in a new team, and he has just been going beast mode the whole way through. So much so that we've almost forgotten that J.R. Smith has thrown soup at an assistant coach. That's how much stuff has been going on with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Webby.
Not me. I didn't forget that.
Right? But through it all, LeBron has been putting in gangster work. And I'm just going to ask a question. Is Harden getting these points? Is Harden's stats so nice just because of the D'Antoni boost? We've seen Steve Nash win back-to-back MVPs off of the D'Antoni boost that we know is a thing. I'm just asking the question.
The D'Antoni boost is nice, okay? But here's the thing, is that we've also touched on this a little bit as well, is that Harden has really refined his game this year. and last year too. But he's a far more complete player. He's a leader, and he's a winner. And those are the eye test things, you know? He's made that leap as the best player in the NBA. You know? Yeah. He's the most valuable player in the NBA. All right? And listen, I love your argument for LeBron. I think that what he's done, like you say, in the last couple of months, has vaulted him over guys like Giannis and AD to be second place in my book. But he had a bad stretch. He really did for about a month, 2 months before February, around New Year's, when he usually does go through a little bit of a lull, and it seems like every year the Cavs go through a bit of a lull. He had that downturn, and I think that it may have cost him the MVP, because you know who didn't have a downturn like that? James Harden, who's been red hot all year. The guy's been in fuegs all year. He hasn't slowed down. In fact, it seems like he keeps getting better week by week.
It has been a thing to just marvel at, the season that James Harden is having, and it's almost like, you know, we've seen what D'Antoni did for the career of Jeremy Lin. The fact that Jeremy Lin was a thing, right? We obviously know that Steve Nash was at one level and then jumped up a whole other level under Mike D'Antoni. Now, James Harden was great. And it's almost like that one down year that James Harden had because he was with Chloe. It's like the opposite that he's having now with D'Antoni. D'Antoni's like making him that much better.
Yeah,
he's like the anti-Kardashian.
Yeah, Mike D'Antoni's the anti-Kardashian.
So, right? It's just been so crazy to watch what James Harden is doing. And I'll be honest in something, right? Part of the thing that makes LeBron and what he's doing so amazing is the fact that it's year 15 and he's 33 years old and he's saying, I want to play every single game this season. And that just seems so crazy and unfathomable to like watch what this guy's doing on a nightly basis. And then that dunk on Nurkic last week. Oh, like that was just foul.
That was insane. He had, what was the game? He had another insane game that he was just making some incredible plays in. The game that they played before the Raptors, I forget who it was against. Oh, the Bucks. I think it was against the Bucks. And it was another triple double like masterpiece by LeBron. And then against the Lakers, do you see the no look?
That no-look pass, to our guy Zizic or whatever his name is. I swear I'm pronouncing his name wrong. That is definitely not even that guy's name.
Is it not Zizic?
I don't know.
But
everyone knows who we're talking about.
Yeah, the big Eastern European guy.
Right, but that's the thing. You're right about that Bucks game. LeBron was going so ham on Giannis. Did you hear Giannis's postgame after?
No, I didn't.
They asked Giannis about it, and Giannis was like, you know, man, I was just in the shower after, and I was thinking, what did I do wrong? I've never had somebody score 40 on me like that. I don't know what to do, how to stop LeBron. I was like, yo, and that's Giannis. If there's anyone that looks like more of an alien than LeBron James, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this guy's like, I don't know what to do. He's having like a shower and he's just like sad. Sad.
One of those ones where you got to lean your head against the tile as the water hits you in the head. Like, man, I got to rethink my life choices here.
It's so good. It's so good. And LeBron is on pace. Like he'll be close to setting a new personal record for rebounds and assists in a season.
Yeah, and he's 33 and he's played the sport for 15 years professionally.
Like it is just insane. And you're right. Maybe all that stuff is like clouding my judgment and making and adding something to LeBron's MVP candidacy that really is unfair to James Harden. You know what I mean? So like maybe that is a thing, but either way, I'm happy at least that LeBron has made this interesting and it's not just James Harden running away with it, because that means that it's just more guys to watch on a nightly basis because you know they're going ham every single night.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone who, I mean, as we move on and turn up, turn down, and someone who hasn't been going ham night after night is Kawhi Leonard. The Spurs locked up their 21st straight winning season on Wednesday night, which is just a crazy, crazy stat. But they've done this without Kawhi Leonard. And it gets even more interesting because the news from Woj today was that the Spurs held a players-only meeting, and basically it was all surfaced around asking Kawhi Leonard when he was going to come back. So the team was asking when he would make his return to the lineup and help the team make its push for the playoffs. Tony Parker quarterbacked the meeting with his teammates and Leonard after Saturday night's victory over Minnesota. Several teammates spoke up, expressing frustration and confusion over the growing divide with Leonard that has created significant tension between the franchise star and the Spurs. So again, this is all from Woj. He says Kawhi was resolute in his response, insisting that he had a good reason for sitting out all but 9 games with a right quad injury this season, league sources said. Leonard, though, has impressed his coaches and teammates in 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 workouts, and there had been belief his rehabilitation was cycling towards a return to the floor in the past week, league source again also said. Woj has a lot of league sources. I wonder who the sources are, right? So the turn up, turn down topic here, Webby, is Kawhi has played his last game in a Spurs uniform. Turn up or turn down?
Okay, I'll turn up on this.
Ooh, okay.
I'll turn up on this because of this. This is the San Antonio Spurs. And this is a team that prides itself on unity and not on individualism. Now, we all know the story that LaMarcus Aldridge was upset with his role. They handled it in-house, and now LaMarcus is he at least had a great first half to the year. And he's still been playing really well. But to take this dirty laundry and to almost air it out in the sports pages of your local newspaper, for me to really date myself, is not something that I think that Popovich and the Spurs are interested in rewarding. So what I think may happen is, especially if he doesn't come back, and I know that Ginobili said that he wasn't going to come back this season.
Yeah, I got the Ginobili quote here. I'll read it for you, Webby. He said that. So Manu told reporters that the team needed to proceed as though Leonard would not be returning to play with them. Quote, "He is not coming back," Ginobili said. "For me, he's not coming back because it's not helping to think Leonard's returning. We fell for it a week ago again. I guess you guys made us fall for it, but we have to think that he's not coming back, that we are who we are, and that we got to fight without him. That shouldn't be changing, at least until he's ready for the jump ball." That sounds like shots fired from Manu Ginobili.
So here's my thing. If you're the Spurs, and especially if Kawhi doesn't make it back this season or this postseason, you can trade Kawhi Leonard and get a huge haul for him with 1 year left on his deal.
Very true. Very true.
And then you can start doing Spurs things, right? Like maybe adding a couple of picks in this deep draft that's happening this year, maybe getting some pieces as well that you might like to kind of rebuild this Spurs outfit the way that Pop wants it set up. So yeah, I'll turn up. I'll say that Kawhi, especially if he doesn't come back here at the end of the year or in the postseason, is never going to play for the Spurs again.
You're so right about everything that you just said is so right. And just to like re-emphasize that, like this is the San Antonio Spurs, okay? We don't really hear much ever from Manu Ginobili.
Stories like this never happen with the Spurs.
Like Manu Ginobili is never controversial in the media. Tony Parker confronting a teammate in a meeting like this and it getting out is not something that we've ever heard. Tony Parker seems like the most mild-mannered superstar the NBA has ever seen, right? Like, and the fact that, you know, it was maybe 3 weeks ago that Popovich was first said that Kawhi's not coming back this season. Like for Pop to just come out and just say that, fully knowing what the response would be, that tells me like something really, really, really messed up is going on in San Antonio. And you might be right, man. There should be a bunch of other teams in the NBA right now. I know most of them that aren't heading for the playoffs are so focused on tanking, but there should be a lot of teams right now that are trying to figure out what can we package with our first pick to try to get Kawhi Leonard, because he's got to be available, you would think, no?
Oh, absolutely.
Where would Kawhi look good? That's an interesting question. Like the Knicks, maybe? I don't know. That's interesting, no?
Here's what I'll tell you. Philadelphia 76ers will have 2 first-round picks.
Hold on, Webby. You do know that the Sixers cannot get everybody, right?
Well, if you can't get LeBron, wouldn't Kawhi be a good second option if LeBron's not going to come to Philly?
You are so right. People who don't end up getting LeBron James, if you were able to get Kawhi Leonard as a backup plan,
yeah, I think
there are worse backup plans that you could have.
I think Kawhi looked pretty ill in those Sixers jerseys.
Either way, we both agree that Kawhi Leonard, I don't know how Kawhi Leonard, obviously if you have this meeting with your teammates where they're openly questioning why you're not back yet, and then you still don't come back after that meeting happens, I don't know how you're able to suit up and look these guys in the eye and go in the trenches and, gear up for a 7-game series against OKC or whoever, and just automatically flick the switch.
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And again, something fishy's going on because as we've said time and time again, Webby, I always trust Pop. So if Pop is like, you know what, we're done with this.
21 straight winning seasons isn't an accident,
Oh, so true, Webby. So true. So moving on from our turn up, turn down segment, we head to our next segment, which is the Feed Me segment, which is basically the best things that we've seen to come across our social media feeds in the NBA in the past week. Okay, Webby? Now, the first thing I have here, okay, is this headline that says, Glen Big Baby Davis arrested with a quarter pound of weed and $92,000 in cash. Okay?
Straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, homie. So, just going to read a little bit of this story because, when this pops across your Twitter timeline, I was very quick to click on this. I had to read the story. Davis was staying in a hotel in Aberdeen, Maryland on February 7th when a hotel owner picked up the oh-so-familiar scent of weed coming from Davis's room. He knocked on the door. According to a police report, Davis told the owner to, quote, fuck off, and refused to answer the door, prompting the owner to phone the police. In the police report, quote, the statement of probable cause, the responding officer wrote that when they arrived, the hotel owner gave the police permission to enter the room Davis was staying in. WMAR reported that police said Davis also provided written consent to search his room.
Never do that.
Right? Come on. Have you never seen any of the movies, Big Baby? Come on, man. You can't just let them in like that. Anyways, the police discovered a quarter pound of weed, about $92,000 cash, and a ledger that cops believe lists names and amounts of money owed by those people for said weed. Through his lawyer, Davis maintained his innocence when contacted by WMAR.
Now, did you see the postscript on this with Big Baby in the plane?
Oh, I did, Webby. I'm pulling up the video right now.
First of all, before I get to the first of all, Big Baby should know better. And and not just about the weed or having the book of names and numbers, but of letting the cops into your hotel room without a warrant.
Right? Especially if you know that you have that in your room. You can't let the cops in. You can't sign paperwork to let the cops in. But hey, maybe we got something wrong, because here's what Big Baby Davis had to say in a video of himself. He recorded a video of himself on a private jet.
A private jet, yeah.
With a briefcase filled with money while he's eating Popeye's chicken. I was just about to say something very vulgar and I stopped myself. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to play this clip and I'm going to say, as brothers, we got to do better than this, Big Baby. Come on, man. Here's the clip. I'll play it.
It's your boy, Big Baby, man. Don't believe all that shit on the internet. I will have my day in court. They just mad because a black man got money, man. Trying to keep a black man down, man. Hey, man, shout out Rollo, man. All those people, man, getting money, man. My shit legal, man. A lot of jump shots. A whole lot of jump shots. Popeye chicken.
A few things here, Webby.
Well,
a few things here.
Oh, no. First, before you get into it, don't need to tell us that it's Popeye's chicken, man. You're filming the video. We see it. We see it. We know really it's not churches. We know it's not Bojangles. Okay?
Listen, man. I'll say this, okay, Big Baby? Here's the first thing. Again, I'll repeat this. As brothers, we got to do better, okay? I like Popeye's chicken, okay? I'm not knocking you for liking Popeye's chicken. But did you really need to be eating the Popeye's chicken while telling us that they're just mad at a black man trying to get money? Like, what? Like, come on, man. Like, really? Did you really have to do that? Because, hey, first off, I'm not mad at you about the weed. It's a quarter pound of weed. I don't smoke weed like that, but it's a quarter pound of weed. He could probably just be smoking that. No?
Hey.
Secondly, a former NBA player that made millions of dollars, for him to have $92,000 in cash, I mean, I'm not judging what he's doing with that money or where that money's going. Who knows what he could be doing? I have no idea. So it's not that shocking that
as long as you're not taking it out of the country, nothing illegal to have $92,000 on you, I'll tell you that.
Right? So again, you're not doing anything wrong. My whole beef with this whole thing, Big Baby, is A, why'd you let the cops in? B, why are you filming yourself eating Popeyes on a private jet, telling us that they have nothing to worry about? They're just mad at black people making money. Then he shouts out someone named Rolo. I think that's what he said.
A lot of jump shots.
A lot of jump shots. And they zoom in on his Celtics championship ring. If I'm like KG and them, I'm like, yo, why are you bringing us into this? Right? Why you got to put the championship ring in the video too? Just eat your Popeyes in peace. But I guess, was he wearing the championship ring? Did he have to take off the championship ring to eat the Popeyes chicken?
Ooh, that's greasy. My other thing is, like, listen, he's obviously in the air, been in the air for a little while. Yeah. I don't know many airports that have Popeye's chicken in them. I know that the Charlotte airport does have a Bojangles, which I have frequented on occasion. But listen, that Popeye's chicken is not piping fresh.
That's a solid point. I didn't even think of that. And you can't have cold Popeyes. That's not a thing.
Yeah, you can. Sure, you can. Especially after you smoked a quarter pound of weed.
Big Baby, oh man, the NBA is just amazing. Big Baby Davis,
it's great.
Like, what I really want, Kevin Garnett does Area 21.
Yes,
I want him to do an Area 21 segment on this Big Baby situation and hear his real thoughts of Big Baby. Like, remember they gathered all the Celtics together?
Yeah. Everybody except Ray Allen.
Yes, they should have another one of those when they ask Big Baby, yo, man, what were you doing? For real, what were you doing? That's what I want to happen.
I'm in. It's the only good part of Players Only is when you get the good guests on Area 21.
Shout out to KG. Anything is possible, right?
Shout out to that hood and somehow staying on top of that guy's head.
Yes, that is true.
Looking like Adebisi.
Speaking of fashion, though, Webby, that takes us to our next Feed Me segment here, or Feed Me topic, sorry. And the one thing that was big that came across my timeline, you heard me earlier get a little excited when Auston Matthews, a truth, scored. And we talked about the Raptors game earlier against Oklahoma City Thunder. But what you might not know is that Auston Matthews' favorite athlete is one Russell Westbrook.
I did see this. And Auston, you're right about the fashion, though. You know that Auston dressed up to look cool as shit to hang out with Russ, right?
Right. So the picture we ended up seeing the video. Video is all over the internet of Auston Matthews and Morgan Riley. They waited outside the OKC locker room after the Raptors game. They had courtside seats. I mean, hey, it's Auston Matthews. He should have courtside seats whenever he wants, right?
Hondo P.
So they had courtside seats to the game, and then he met up and they got to say what's up to Russell Westbrook after the game, who was in a very Russell Westbrook-esque type, I don't even know what you call that, parka, rain jacket, I don't even know what you call it, but get your Googles up and find that, kids, because that was just great. And we bring that up just to be like, hey, this is new age. All this talk in the NHL about hockey culture and this, that, and the third, it's not always just black and white, because you hear a guy like Auston Matthews talk about how much he likes Russell Westbrook and the NBA because they get to show off a little bit of style, a little bit of individuality, show off some of their personality, right? I think hockey could use some of that, no?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know what's funny, too, that you bring that up? I was just listening to, and I hate to pub another podcast that isn't Ball on Blast, but I was listening to Bill Simmons today, and he had the Bennett brothers on.
Yeah, I got to check that out.
Martellus and Michael. It was great because those two guys are so smart, and Martellus is I think Martellus Bennett is going to be a star, like when he's done playing football.
Okay.
But anyway, they were talking about that with the NFL and compared to the NBA, about how the NFL is way more about not just the shield of the league, but of the teams. Whereas the NBA is far more superstar driven, right? Like that's nothing that you haven't heard before. But it's funny now that you compare it to hockey, because hockey is definitely a player driven league. But unlike the NBA, you never get any of these guys' personalities. I mean, hardly ever, right? Only in really, really special cases, like a guy like Luongo, who is...
And it's only really Cappy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
There's only one station and one guy who brings that, or even goes to search out those personalities.
Yeah. No, it's totally true. And it was totally cool for us, because I know that... You are with me with the love of Auston Matthews and Russell Westbrook.
Oh, so yeah. Two of my favorite athletes.
Exactly, right? Two of my favorite athletes as well. So when I saw that, I was like, this is definitely something I got to bring up on the podcast. And I don't know if someone had asked Auston Matthews yet about meeting Russell Westbrook and what that was about, but I would hope someone did do that. And if not, they should get on it.
Yeah,
but anyways,
that's right. But the other thing, too, was, like, you notice that, like, our boy Morgan
Riley, yeah.
He was dapped up. He had the glasses on, the nice, cool look. But Austin had the almost the signature Russell Westbrook 80s band that you know that he doesn't listen to.
Yes.
T-shirt. I think it was AC/DC. It's like I don't know how many AC/DC albums that Auston Matthews can name off the top of his head, but I appreciate the style.
Hey, I'm not going to doubt the capabilities of one young Auston Matthews.
Never doubt. But that was my favorite thing with Russ. Like Russ one time came in a Misfits shirt. And it's like, you're like, there's no way. But if there's anybody in the NBA who might listen to the Misfits, it could be Russell Westbrook.
Two of my favorite athletes by far right now in the year 2018 colliding, and I love everything about it. So good, so good. Also so good, though, Webby. I'm bringing this up just for you. We talked about Molly Sullivan. That's her name, right?
You're going to talk about
she was on the night? Well, yeah, she was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. We played that clip when she had the interview with Allen Iverson, right? And so now this is Molly making another edition of the Ball on Blast podcast, but this time not so much for what she was doing as opposed, well, you know what? Actually, I will give her credit. I will give her credit because
she played it straight. Her own. She played it straight.
She's doing her stand-up, and everyone's just like dancing or like dabbing or doing something behind her. And
even
your Sixers
Fultz
are having
involved.
fun.
Even Fultz getting involved.
Good times for the Sixers right now, Webby. What's going on with your Sixers?
Yo, listen, are you kidding me? Well, first of all, last night they played the tanking Grizzlies, and were utterly dominant. And tonight they're playing the tanking Magic and looking just as good. But I'll tell you my Feed Me segment right now. You know what I've been watching the last week and a bit since we last talked? Markelle Fultz jump shots.
Oh, jeez. Here we go again.
And they're not a thing of beauty like a J.J. Redick knockdown three, okay? Mm-hmm. But they are looking better and better by the day. And I'm talking not just foul shot, not just free throws, but three-pointers, little hezzy Jimbos as well. I'm telling you, man, I wouldn't be surprised, would not be surprised if the playoffs started and Markelle Fultz is playing.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right, you heard it here first. Another edition of Sixers Corner. But you mentioned the Grizzlies, and you guys beat the Grizzlies, the tanking Grizzlies.
Who currently, or I think tonight, gave up, lost by 61 points, which is the 5th most in NBA history.
Final score, Hornets 140, Grizzlies 79.
Go home, Grizzlies, you're drunk.
Right. So, Webby, Ask on Blast here, right? We wrap things up, as always, with Ask on Blast. And I just want to know, after your Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago call, do you happen to have the lottery numbers for this week? Just checking. That's my first question.
Okay, so 21. I'm just trying to think of all the Sixers starting five numbers.
Get out of here. More Sixers talk. Get out of here. Always comes back to the Sixers, eh? Well, I'm going to go from Philly to another big-time American city and ask you a little something else in our Ask on Blast segment, Webby. How are you keeping up with the show Atlanta?
Ooh, I'm watching it every week.
It's so good, isn't it?
So good. Dude, this last one I know what Ern was going through with you're either stunting on somebody or you're getting stunted on.
It's so good.
We've all had days like that. We've all had weeks like that. But, hey, you know what my favorite part about that episode was.
Michael Vick, for sure.
Michael Vick foot race outside the strip club, man. It was the best.
Oh my God, that was so good. Because when they first said, "Is that Michael Vick?" I thought it was going to be one of those when they had the Bieber scenario.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. I thought
was going to happen, and I'm like, "Oh wait, that's actually Michael Vick." That's amazing.
Is that the greatest cameo in a show of all time?
I mean, here's the thing. It's one thing to have the cameo. It's another thing to have Michael Vick play into the joke that Michael Vick would be racing people outside a strip club in Atlanta.
Outside of Onyx, a strip club we're both familiar with from being rap fans.
Yes. Right? Like, it's so amazing. That show is just on another level because it's so smart and yet so funny at the exact same time. Like, that wasn't this week's episode. It was last week's episode when he gets some money and he's trying to use the gift cards, right?
Yeah. And the guy's like, they don't chase here. They don't
have
chase.
No chase policy.
No chase policy.
Oh my God. If you're not watching Atlanta, you definitely need to watch that show. I can't stress that enough. In our Ask on Blast segment every week, we try to recommend maybe some music, maybe some TV shows. We try to recommend you something in your free time away from the NBA, something that you need to check out, right?
It's got to be Atlanta.
It's got to be Atlanta. And just a heads up.
What's my guy's name? What's my guy's name? The guy, the new roommate?
Oh, Tracy, I think.
Oh,
Tracy.
God, he's so good when they're going to the strip club. And Derek's just like, I'm going to wear my all-white suit. And then he's like, Tracy, you ready to go? He's like, ready. And he's lying down. For some reason, I was like, I know people just like that.
Oh, for sure, right? And that's the thing about the show. Again, it's so well written. It's so good. It's all the little nuances, right? And like, as you said, the whole episode was about either you're stunting on someone or getting stunting on. And at the end, when Paperboy's trying to explain it to him, he's like, look at Tracy over here. He takes control of the situation. He told this girl he's been my manager. And look at him. The girl's just dancing for him the whole night. I'm like, it's so good, man. It's such great television. It doesn't stop, man.
And the best part is, too, man, is just there's nothing more I love than when Paperboy's look. When he's like not happy. Yeah. And he's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's like just that one look on his face like says so much about his character and shit. It's awesome.
I love so far too how the central theme of Robin season has played a role in each episode. Like it's in completely different ways too, right? Like it started off with the obvious, like, okay, just straight robbery, but just every single way when you go back to, you know, the subtleties of, no, we only take your cash, right? But then you're only taking certain people's cash and then other people's cards, or, you know,
the drug dealer ripping off Paperboy was that was so great.
Yeah. Great show. Watch Atlanta, and also a heads up because Billions season 3 is starting this Sunday.
I'm not in on bro.
What?
I went through 2 seasons of Billions, and I don't think Billions is a good show.
Hold on. The second last episode of season 2 of Billions. It's basically like a mini Ocean's 12 movie or Ocean's 11 movie. It was so good.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it because it's on, but I'm not like. Oh man,
that hurts my feelings. We're gonna need the people to decide this one. Is Billions a good show? Let us know.
All right. Is it back this week?
I'm pretty sure it's back this Sunday. Yeah.
All right. I'll watch it more. I'll report back on Thursday.
All right. We will discuss that. And in the meantime, too, people, let us know what you think about Billions, about Atlanta, about the Raptors, the Cavs. Whatever you want, let us know. Hit us up. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander, and you can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. Webby, where can they find you?
Yo, at AWebster84, just tweeting about Sister Jean. and if you need any other great prognostications, just hit me up.
Yes, shout out to Sister Jean, and hopefully shout out to you for listening to this edition of the Ball on Blast podcast. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
On blast.